All right, well that is really stretched, but what I'm going to do on your agenda first is I want to go over a few different Riverwalk options. In our past meetings with the subcommittee and even the bond commission, we've shown you the Riverwalk, the first alternative we have developed. We've developed 2 more alternatives, and I want to go over those with you, then as well as the cost on Riverwalk, and then we'll do likewise with Streetscapes and Gateways, and then City Walk. So on this one, let me, this is alternative 1, and I just want to refresh, even though you've seen this one before. There, now I can talk to the microphone and look at the screen here. So to get your bearings, this is 321 right along the south side here. This is 12 right over here on the east side. This is obviously Lake Hickory. This area right in here is the kind of the connection between what we've been calling Riverwalk Phase 1 and Riverwalk Phase 2. The red line coming right up through here, there's a section on this that shows 2-way roadway as well as pedestrian bicycle connection. You have a boardwalk type feature, which up in here you can see this is meant to be more of a boardwalk over the water feature right through here. This, the yellow squares are proposed parking. We have a connection to 12th Street right here with this white oval, and the yellow road right through here is a connection for cars as well as pedestrian and bikes. Going from the boardwalk here all the way up to this whole light green area is the Lackey project. This is proposed as a boardwalk all the way up through here. You have 3 different scenic overviews. You have the white dashed line through here is the existing trail that's out there, paved asphalt trail. The white circle is the Boy Scout camp. We have 2 different proposed connections between the proposed boardwalk and the trail and the camp as well. If most of y'all remember, one of the major constraints we had on this project was the riparian buffer rules from the state Diener office. What those state is within the first 30 feet from the water's edge. You can't cut down any trees over 3 inches in diameter. You can't put down any impervious area, which impervious means when it's concrete, rooftops, anything that when it rains it doesn't soak into the ground. That was one of the main stipulations. I believe I told you this before, we met with Diener, they gave us, they pointed out to a variance that allowed a 10-foot wide trail to fit within that corridor. The downside of that is you can only clear 14 foot for construction, which really limited construction. So between only having a 14-foot width to construct this and then also just the steep topographic grades across this site, it made it a fairly expensive option. But from that standpoint, this is kind of the vision that was in Inspiring Spaces, an iconic project, albeit an expensive project. This is a second option that we looked at, and you'll see everything's. Yeah, I think is that better, everybody? Yep. All right, this is the second option, and almost everything's the same on this, so I'll just point out the differences. Again, the yellow and the reds, the connections, the future parking, and the yellow, the boardwalk feature right through here. This section right here from the first scenic overlook to the blue oval here is still the same boardwalk as the first option, so this part of the project hasn't changed. This part of the project, what we do is we try to get out of that 50-foot width zone, so we're going back away from the water 50 feet to get out of that riparian buffer area. That allows us to clear more space, allows the contractor to have more storage materials, allows them to clear more area to actually do the construction, and it has a very positive impact on the cost of the project. This area right here, the blue oval, this was in the first alternative when we originally presented it. That was the public park feature. One thing we revised on all the option is we left this open to be potentially a public-private partnership, what we're calling a P3. So this could be some sort of partnership that brings in the amenities that we're looking for, but hopefully at a reduced cost to the city. In this option, at that point, like I mentioned, we come 50 foot off the water's edge, but then we're going back into a boardwalk scenario where we're within that 50 feet across the Lackey project to have that tie-in. Is there any questions about how this one's different than the first option? All right, third option, the main difference on this one is we have removed the boardwalk section across the Lackey project, and we have that off 50 feet the whole way through. But, and then in this area, we have the original boardwalk, but rather than having boardwalk from here to here, we came back 50 feet sooner. And again, this lowered the cost on this one further as well. Is there any questions on how that one's different? All right. Let me flip over to a spreadsheet real quick. So on this one, the main breakout, it's a little bit more substantial of a breakout on streetscapes and gateways, as well as the city walk portion. But on this one, we're showing the public-private partnership broken out from this. You have 3 different scenarios up there that range from 4.8 million up to 11.1 million on the basic cost of the Riverwalk, which includes everything except for that blue oval area, which would be the public-private partnership. Any questions on that? All right, Anna, we're going to your next one, Streetscapes.
Okay, so you guys have seen our big overview map before. It came out really small when we tried to put it up on the screen. So I just kind of zoomed in on the area that we want to talk about with streetscapes. Based on feedback that we got from the committee and council and everything, we actually added 2 more streetscapes. So to orient you guys on this, 321 is here. This is Riverwalk Phase 1. This is Riverwalk Phase 2. And right over here is City Walk. And then from here to here is our original Old Lenore Streetscape 7. And we have added Streetscape 8, which we'll look at closer in a minute, but it goes from the north end of the Old Lenore streetscape up to Riverwalk and connects it on the north end. And then we've added Streetscape 9, which starts at the south end of Old Lenore and comes down 9th Street and then across on Main Street and connects into City Walk over here. We also still have the option of the railroad spur. We wanted to keep that on the map and keep it on the forefront of everybody's minds, but we have not put that on the list for prioritization at this time because we're still in talks with the railroad and it still has some advancements it needs to make before we can further that project. So. Bear with me. Okay, so these first streetscapes are all the ones that we've already looked at and discussed. And then like I mentioned, we added these two new ones. So this is Streetscape 8 that I was talking about, is the north connection for Old Lenore. So if we look at the cross-section here, currently what's out there on the north end is a 2-lane road. And then we're proposing, with this 2-lane road, putting in that shared use lane right here. And it would be in between the road and the railroad. Any questions about that north connection? And then this is the southern connection that I was talking about. So this is actually angled kind of funny. But this is the 9th Street part. So Old Lenore actually runs this way. North is actually pointing to the left. And right here, this existing cross-section is a 2-lane road with a center turn lane. And we're proposing taking it down to a 2-lane road so that we can fit in the trail. It's a really narrow right-of-way through there, but we think we can make it fit. And then this is that section across Main Street. So across Main Street, currently it is a 2-lane road. And then we're proposing here that we add in that shared use trail between the road and the railroad. Any questions about this connection? Yeah.
Can we use that as, can we have bikes on that trail also?
Yeah, so it's as wide as the trail is going to be along City Walk. It's a 12-foot wide shared use trail. Any other questions? Sure.
On the north end, how would they cross the street there? Is there like gonna be some kind of walkway or something across the street? Because the walkway will be on the far side, right? I mean, in the connection between that and Riverwalk.
I believe they would cross at a signalized intersection crosswalk.
So all the way down 321?
No, if I'm thinking of it correctly. Let me go back. So on this, the current streetscape that we've got, Old Lenore, the Trailway is on the west side. Thank you. And then on this one, the trail is on the east side. I am assuming I've got those backwards. The east side and then the west side. Thanks for the help. Just kidding. No, I think what we would do is just right back here at this intersection, we would cross them over at the intersection. Any other questions? Okay, so then the associated cost with that. So the associated costs with that are listed here. We've got it broken out into categories. So the basic cost includes everything from the back of curb to the right of way. That includes the landscaping, the clearing and grubbing, the sidewalk improvements, any kind of utility mitigation that would need to happen. And then we've got median in a separate category because feasibly you could do one of these streetscapes and not go back and put in any sort of median improvements. And then another category is the lighting. That's another thing that you could not do as part of a streetscape. And then when we went out and looked at these streetscapes with Duke and CenturyLink to see what could be done about the consolidation of the overhead utilities. We heard that from you guys as something that you would really like to clean up is all the overhead utilities out there. One of the things that came out of that meeting that would really make the biggest impact, we think, is just going to signalized intersections out there. So right now, most of your intersections, maybe all of your intersections, are on span wire. So you have wooden poles and you've got wire across all of your intersections, and it makes for not as clean of an intersection. So if you go to mast arms, all of that goes underground, and you have immediately cleaned that area up. So we put in here the cost to signalize all the intersections across each specific streetscape. And then the other cost that we discussed as part of this committee was consolidating the lines on one side of the road or the other. We have not put that cost in here yet. We didn't know if we needed to go any further than that because the cleaning up the signalized intersections was going to be such a huge impact on its own and was already such a large number. We didn't know that we needed to look any further. So that's what everything came out to. Are there any questions on this?
How long is the trail from end to end?
On which streetscape?
Well, from the furthest one to the other side?
Are you asking like along City Walk, Old Lenore, and the Riverwalk?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I see, right. Yeah, 4 or 5.
4 or 5 miles? And the trail included in these 5 or 9 streetscape options?
Where they have it.
These 9 streetscapes are spread out, across. I can show you the map.
Is the question the trail length from end to end?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we do the pedals and puffs ride from American Honor Ale House,
Yeah.
and we basically follow this same route, and it's 5 miles each way from basically at American Honor Ale House along Main Avenue, down to Piedmont Wagon Building, down 9th Street to, we don't ride Old Lenore Road, we ride the road behind Century Furniture, all the way down to the park, but on the Lackey Park side.
But as far as all 9 streetscapes that we're talking about, they're not connected. So they're all the little blue segments here. So there's a streetscape, and here's a streetscape. And then here's the first 3 that go along US 70. This is Lenore Rhine. Here's the one that we were just discussing. So they're kind of spread out a lot all over the city.
Next question. Which ones of those have the bike / walkway? Just the ones we talked about in Riverwalk, or all the streetscapes have the bike lane?
The bike lane is on, this one has a bike
Right.
lane,
Yep.
and I think none of the rest of them have bike lanes.
Yeah. And then where does the Hickory Greenway come through there? Does anybody know? Is there
You talking about the current greenway?
Yeah.
Yeah, so currently, you know, not to speak on your behalf, but currently if you ride down Lake, we call it Lake Road, down to where Lackey Park is, that's where you hit the greenway, and it comes out at the tennis court, so it's just that section. But the way that they're talking about routing this is to route you to where the old Far East Nissan location is. So you would go in the park from that side, and then conceivably you could come out. The traffic is really low on Lake Road in comparison to that road, so there's probably not a need on Lake Road to necessarily have a dedicated bike lane other than the stripe that we already have.
It comes out tennis courts.
It comes out, yeah, you come back out of the tennis courts if you wanted to. So you basically can make a lollipop, if you will. You would ride down or walk down and do a lollipop and go back up. So you would probably end up with more like 11 or 12 miles worth of bike.
Right.
Yes.
So you showed us individual costs from Streetscapes, what's the total cost for the night?
For all 9 of them?
Now, there's obviously a lot of cost with this signalized mast arms.
That's why we categorize
Yeah,
things.
number sign.
You want to see those?
For all of it.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay.
Good evening. Let me try to put this in context for you all, because you're probably wondering, what in the world do all these numbers mean? So here's kind of where we are from your last full bond commission meeting in July. The subcommittees met in August. We've gotten feedback on the streetscapes. You haven't seen the gateways yet, but you're getting ready to see that now. Where we are, we have finished the analysis of the cost estimates for all of these projects. So you just saw the 3 cost estimates for Riverwalk. You just saw the cost estimates for City Walk. You're getting ready to, for the streetscapes. You're getting ready to see the cost estimates for the gateways. And then I'm going to give you a quick overview of the cost estimate for the City Walk. To put this all in perspective, that adds up to more than money than you have in bond funds. And we all knew that coming into this process. You all as a bond commission, your hard work is just beginning. In a few minutes, we're going to go over the remaining schedule for this process. But there's going to be a set of subcommittee meetings in November. And during those subcommittee meetings, each of the subcommittees will go through a prioritization process, and we'll talk more about in just a few minutes as well, to help put this all in perspective and get it back on, to get it on budget inside the bond funds. This is a long journey of investment in the city of Hickory. This is like the first phase. There'll be a lot more investment years to come. But that's kind of where we're headed. We're trying to paint the big picture for you tonight. That Riverwalk is somewhere $7 to $12 million, depending upon the options that you might choose. Streetscapes, big number, you saw it, depending on all the options you choose. But there are choices here. The same thing with City Walk when you add it all together. But we're going to take you all through a process in November to get feedback So in December, what you'll see is some recommended programs. And what we mean by program, here's a list of projects that can be done within your budget and what order they should be done based on other reasons, grant funds, critical path like permits and those kinds of things, getting some projects out and built quickly, those types of things. So that's kind of helped with the context of tonight's meeting. We're painting the big picture for you so that you can begin thinking about that as you move into your subcommittee meetings in November. Any questions about process or where we are? Please, any questions?
Just might note, the stuff that doesn't make the cut the first go around, we can put in another phase and keep it on the agenda if we think it's important.
Yeah, what will come out is a list of priority. And let's say there's $70 million of projects here, but you've only got, say, $35 million to spend on these projects. That doesn't mean this remaining 35 goes away. They're sitting there waiting for the next opportunities. It might be public-private partnership investments. It might be a private development. It might be other grant funds or whatever it might be to help those projects get in the hopper to be built. Okay. Raise your hand if that helps you. If it doesn't help you, raise your hand. Everybody will shut. Okay. All right. Thanks, Lori.
Thank you. Okay, now we're going to look at gateways. I think this is the first time that a lot of you have seen these, so we wanted to go through an exercise where we discuss all of these gateways and talk about the locations and just get your thoughts and feedback on if these look good to you or not, I guess. This is the first gateway. This is at US 70 and Highway 321. And to orient you, north is up on all of the gateway maps, which makes it easy. So we've got proposed locations here and here. And these are site photos of the intersection, but I'm sure you guys all know what that intersection looks like, that interchange. And this is what the Inspiring Spaces document calls a tertiary entry feature. It should be something really big that you can see at high speeds. And I guess we just wanted to make sure that those look like appropriate locations to you guys. Any comments on this one?
So Morgan, you've got those basically at the stops where you come off the interchange before you get to 70. And I would wonder, are you focused then on the fixture, the gateway piece, or on the cars that are getting ready to run into you if you go through that intersection?
No, but I look at it from the standpoint of they're all C and B are like going south away from the city, and D and A are going north. There's nothing on like the other side of 70 of D, like going into the city, or even over there where that little green something is coming off of 321 onto 70. They're almost all wrong places.
These D, I think, are just pictures. I think the green circle are where the two proposed locations are.
Oh, the green circles are where the proposals are?
Yeah,
Okay, sorry.
right here.
The picture, the A, B, C, and D are just referenced.
Yeah.
So Morgan, of all the places that I think of gateways, if you think of going towards Lenore on 321, the gateway piece I think of is that bird sculpture. And I wonder, I don't know how many people know what I'm talking about, but you go by the thing and you see it. It's a landmark. And I wonder, is there some way that we could create a location so that people say, oh, you go to this particular thing, get off there, as opposed to you're already off.
Right.
And the one on the right-hand side of your dot, it's on the wrong, it's going like towards west versus, it should be going towards the east to feed to 4th Street.
And the thought behind these are to make them tall enough that you can see them from all different directions.
All from the highway.
Yeah.
But it's a long way from where you get on that ramp, like to do that sculpture.
Especially on the right.
Can it be located a little more southern?
Yeah, like doing the,
Where you get off the interstate.
little more landscaping where you.
Yeah, right at the end of that landscape versus at the other end.
More down here.
Yeah.
Right.
Same thing at the top.
But it,
And put this one more here.
Yeah.
So you want it to be more focused on this highway?
pardon?
If you're seeing it there, you've already gotten off. You haven't had the potential to make a decision to get off.
Okay.
Right, yeah. You could see it in advance. Oh, that's it. I'll take a right-hand turn.
Right,
Because the other one's kind of after the fact. You already made it.
right.
If
Okay.
possible.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're seeing it there, you've already gotten off, 321. But you want to have the potential to attract someone.
Right.
Okay.
It seems like the ones in Rock Hill.
Yes. Well, they're so tall.
They're really.
Yeah.
I think you have to picture
Okay. Good, thank you.
Where they're getting on 321.
So the second gateway we have here is Lenore Rhine and I40. And so in the Inspiring Spaces document, they have this drawing. And what this is, and again, north is up here. And this is kind of like nails. They're sculpture pieces. They're artsy and colorful and tall, and you can see them from the highway. And then down here is a welcome to Hickory sign. And then this is landscaping that is in distinct forms. It's not, it's very specific landscaping. And we have been talking with DOT, and one of their plans is to come in right here, and they're gonna put in a clover leaf of some sort on that side, which I think will help actually facilitate this plan. Any thoughts on this one?
I think a lot of the same premise, that green dot and to the left, to the right of the bridge. You've already missed your exit. That's where the clover leaf is going to come out. That's where the exit clover leaf is going to merge onto, back on the 40. The one down there to C, you're leaving town. And the one over there to the left of A is probably not west enough, because you've already either gotten off or gone past the exit.
Okay. So let me ask you guys this. I guess my feeling for these gateways was that it was something that whenever you exited and you came into Hickory, it was something that you knew, okay, I'm in Hickory, and something that was cohesive about the town and everything. Not necessarily something that was further back and told you, I want to exit here. But are you guys seeing a gateway feature more as something that you see from miles back and
I see
say,
it as
this is where I
exit
want to exit?
Yeah.
An exit feature.
I see
Okay.
it as exit features. Yeah.
Okay.
That they've already left it.
That's what they're proposing when you're leaving town, you're saying.
No, not when you're leaving town. I see gateway features as when you're coming into town.
But
It marks.
But that's not what you're showing the exact opposite. C is after you've already gotten off at D and merged back on to A, and you're leaving town going west toward Deep Cottage.
You go east.
You're going east. The top one to the left of the bridge is back where that clover leaf is going to be. It should be much farther to the east before you get to that exit like that, where that tanker or that truck is going off or something.
Or much further north, Chris.
Right. And the one to the far left is is right in the middle of those crepe myrtle trees, and you've either gotten off already or you're past. They're definitely all in the wrong places. One's an entrance and two of them are you already exited.
Okay.
I don't think it creates the excitement to come into the city, and I think that's the purpose of the gateway.
Yeah, definitely.
That's not what this is.
Okay.
So I see it as something that needs to be exciting enough to make them get off the road and come in.
Make
Okay.
a deal for you.
Yeah.
Morgan, for reference, could you put exit 125 on that map somewhere? Is thought given to put some kind of feature on top of the bridge? I've seen that in other places. Where it makes
It wasn't.
where it makes the bridge memorable.
Itself.
Like they just did in Morganton when they redid overpass there, they made it look like stone.
We talked about that this afternoon. So what we wanted
At
to
a
show you
different
tonight
image.
was
Yeah.
kind of the vision that was in inspiring spaces, and then just see what comments you had where we wanted to go with it.
Yeah, we took these, especially on this one, these exact locations and everything, all of this came out of the Inspiring Spaces document.
Make the bridge memorable, if I see that from the distance and decide where you want to get off. Or next time you come through, you'll remember what that was.
Right. Okay.
I think it's gotta be done right. Have you seen the one on 77 in Mooresville now?
Yeah.
Where they put up the posts with the lines going down, so it's almost, it's like, the Hickory Bridge, in Charleston. And it looks very cheap. I mean, it's just the bridge, and then it has these lines coming down, it's not well done.
Okay. So not, can you write that, not
Not
Chelsea?
cheap. It could be, you know, true. Not here.
Yes.
The quantity that you're putting around each one, is it a bit much? To have like one bad and like three, versus what David was saying, having that excitement that brought to that one piece or statement for that
Yeah.
particular area.
Yeah, and I think it depends on what type of intersection you're talking about. So on that particular one, let me go back. On this one, you know, you're at I40 and Lenore Ryan, it's a huge interchange. So I think you're wanting to hit more of the interchange because it's so big and because you've got so many people that are only gonna see certain areas of the interchange as they're going across it. But Dallin, hold that until you look at the costs. Like this one, so this one, Gateway 3 is Springs Road or 12th Avenue and McDonald Parkway. And this is an at-grade gateway. So it's got more of your not big, huge things. So it's got like these stone sculptures and maybe some wooden something to celebrate, you know, Hickory well crafted. One thing that did come up in one of our meetings was possibly having a water feature here. Maybe some sort of a water feature that ties in with City Walk, kind of starts making things cohesive through here. I don't know. What are y'all's thoughts on this? This is where everybody comes to a stop, so.
Morgan, I think it's a big intersection, and I think you're gonna have to, whatever you put there, it's gotta be scaled.
Okay.
It's got to be something big and massive, or it's gonna get totally lost.
Walmart's there now.
Where that green dot is where Walmart's at.
That's one of the news there, right?
We really want it. It's there now. Tomorrow.
There's probably a sign there.
Come on. It's so crazy.
Yes.
I think whatever features we put, especially the ones in downtown or whatever, that they're easily describable, because right now, as you know, people going through Hickory say, turn left where this used to be and turn right where that used to be. Well, these probably not going to be going anywhere. So if they're easily describable, we can say, turn left at where this thing is. We can describe it very easily.
Yeah. I like the water feature because that is Springs Road, and then if you go a little further, down there's Sulphur Springs, and the original Springs is there. It used to be back in, I guess, the 20s or 30s resort area, your Cobb County. And so water's kind of a neat idea to incorporate there, and instead of kind of maybe towards city walk and towards other water, and Riverwalks about water too. So,
I would echo that also. And where the D is vacant property owned by the state, so it's a perfect place for it. I would say anything we need to do.
Okay. So this is Gateway 4. So this is at 321 Employment Boulevard. And it is another at grade, like we were just discussing. Mick, the city manager, had a great idea right here of putting up maybe some old-timey baseball scoreboard, like the green monster or something, so that you don't have an electronic board right there, but you still have something that people can advertise on, and it's related to the baseball field, and it's kind of iconic in itself, and thought that might be really neat to have right here.
But if you're going to use, if you're going to get off 321 and come south and turn left on Employment, okay? That sign, the little green dot is where the welcome to Hickory is now. But to me, it's past the fact it needs to be closer to the lake so that you can get over in those, one of those two far left lanes. You can make that turn.
Right, by the time you're seeing it here, it's too late, kind of. Yeah, okay.
And if we're gonna do the Plymouth connection to Old Mill Road, and if that's gonna be such a biggie, this is way in the wrong place. So
Okay.
you need to get them to move prior to,
Okay.
and it may even be in the middle of the lanes of 321 so that you can get people to go that way. So they're looking towards the median versus the outside.
Okay, that's a great idea.
The green dot right now. Can you turn back for a minute?
Yeah.
Green dot became car line. Oh, maybe pizza. B right there, pizza. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
this is the
maybe.
Pizza Hut, isn't it?
And see where the gas is.
Yeah. Okay, so this is our last gateway. In the Inspiring Spaces document, this was where we were going to have the big, beautiful pedestrian bridge that was going to be very iconic. It's right here where our Riverwalk Phase 1 and Phase 2 is. 321 is down the middle here. However, they are now raising that bridge 20 to 30 feet, so putting another pedestrian bridge on top of that would really be too much, too high. And I think we're making our pedestrian connection for the Riverwalks underneath the bridge. So we have been in talks with DOT about partnering with them and doing something different here.
So Morgan, they're going to demolish the current bridge?
They're demolishing the southbound lane, the southbound bridge, and then the northbound bridge, I believe the city is going to take over as a pedestrian bridge.
Okay.
Yeah. We're ready.
Okay, so then if we look at the costs on the gateways, those had more than one star, more than one location. So I've got a cost on here for a single location, if you were just gonna put one feature out there and catch them at one spot. A second location, if you were gonna do them on opposite corners and catch them at both locations. And then special would be if you were to put in a third location or some sort of a special feature there. Like on Gateway 2, since we know that DOT is coming in and adding that Cloverleaf, we know that we're going to be able to do a few more things there. It's going to have that second interchange, so we've added more money in there for that element if we wanted to do that. And then Gateway 5, like I said, we're just in talks with DOT. We don't really know what exactly we're going to do out there, so we just kind of put a partnering number out there. Any questions about these costs? Yes.
What will you do with all the suggestions that have been made now, and how will that affect these?
I think it's going to affect our exhibits more than our numbers, because the monument that you put out there, no matter where you put it, is going to be the same monument. But we do take all of this back and change things. We've been changing our designs and exhibits and costs throughout this entire process. And then before our next exercise, and Charles is going to go over the schedule, all these costs that you've seen today, I did want to caveat, could change before our exercise in November. So, you know, they could change slightly, and especially with the feedback that we're getting today, they could definitely change. But we are going to take all this information that you would need, and we're going to put it out on the internet and give you a link of where you can download it all. And then all of that will be available to you for the exercise that we're going to go over shortly. But with that, I'm going to turn it over to Charles and let him go over the city walk costs with you.
Okay, you still with us on where we're headed? Big picture? We got essentially four buckets: Gateway, Streetscapes, Riverwalk, and City Walk. And you've got $35 million in the bond program, $5 million set aside for the business park, 1764. So we're shooting for $35 million investment in this phase one with the bond funds. Morgan's putting on the screen cost estimate for City Walk. Do y'all remember City Walk, the land design exhibits that take it essentially from North Rhine University into downtown to 4th Street or Avenue, one of them. Have a hard time keeping those straight, which one goes which way. But so that's essentially a mile long. Land design and their report developed a budget for that. What we did, we took their budget and we broke it down more like an engineer's perspective. And they had a figure of $27.5 million for City Walk. That's just not building a sidewalk from Lenore Rhine to downtown. That's included a parking deck, included other parking lots. It included water features and little plazas, landscaping, lighting, a bridge over 127. All those features are included in that number. We analyzed their budget and we came up with within $100,000 of their number. And it has a 30% contingency in there as well. Most of these numbers you've seen today have a big contingency of, and we say big because this is a planning level. We haven't designed anything yet. And we don't want to be the low bidder in this process here. We want to have your number to be a little bit high as we get into the actual design and taking construction bids on these projects. So the bottom line is land design numbers were right on the mark, about $27.5 million. Again, to do everything, we came up with 27.4. So we look at all these features, and in just a moment, after Andrew's got a little announcement that I think you've got to get your picture taken, Mike's going to talk about the prioritization process we're going to go through with each of the subcommittees on November 9th and November 10th. And that will help inform the recommendations that we'll have for you as a sitting again as a full bond commission in December. So, any questions about City Walk? You're familiar with where it is, hopefully. The cost again on steel room, $27.5 million, give or take $100,000. Again, for everything in there. Any questions? Sure. Okay. Andrea, do you want to transition to the next piece?
You didn't go through this first?
Excuse me?
You didn't want to go through this first?
That's all I was gonna do.
Unless y'all want to get into the details of mobilization and landscaping and all that.
No, but what I do want, if we could recap in rough numbers, what the cost for each piece is, not, overall cost
For each of them.
City Walk is 27.5.
Yep.
And what about the others?
Riverwalk, depending on what option you do.
So Riverwalk, it depends on which option.
7 to 12.
Yeah, somewhere $7 to $12.5 million. Streetscapes, 34 million dollars, but that's that includes doing the signalization at the intersections and all the landscaping. And the gateways was 1.3. So you've probably got twice over your budget. But again, keep in mind, this is setting priorities to do phase 1 and do phase 2, 3, 4, whatever, however many number of phases. We all know this is a long journey, and you're just starting that journey. Good question. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
I have a question that I have not heard the answer to in all of the meetings that I have attended. The Riverwalk going from Guyton Park up to the Crawdad Stadium. All of that land along Lake Hickory is in Burke County. I have not heard anybody say if we're going to have to pay taxes to Burke County for land that is in their control or not. And if we are, how are we figuring in that cost versus the cost on the expectation of spending?
I think I can answer that. If I get it wrong, Andrew, correct me. Spent a little bit of time working for local government in the past. If the city does not pay property taxes on property owns, there are a lot of cities in North Carolina that are in multiple counties, and they have facilities that are in those multiple counties. Take the city of High Point. It sits in 4 counties. So they have facilities. Hickory's in 3 counties. So if the Hickory owns property in Burke County or Caldwell County and Catawba County, they don't pay taxes to those respective counties. And it's the same vice versa. The county doesn't pay the city property taxes for the facilities it owns in the city of Hickory. So that should not be a cost factor for the Riverwalk.
So whatever is built in that county remains under the control of the city of Hickory or Burke County?
If it's in the city limits, it remains in the control of the city of Hickory.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Andrew?
So what we're going to talk to you next about is partnering with the Hickory Daily Record on an insert that will go in the paper right at the first of the year. And 2 things that we need to do about that tonight. One is to have a group picture made, which will make a very efficient process. You probably need to get up and stretch. We're going to step outside to the area where we'll just direct you. It's just right out, feet outside this door. figure out a really quick, nice group picture, and then come back in, grab something else to eat. We got a few more minutes of work to do with the folks at Freeze Nichols. But I'd like for you to hear about that media insert and the opportunity we have with HDR, and we're very appreciative of their efforts to get the word out to the broader community about the bond referendum, and so, or the bond program. So Dana Kaminsky is our communications manager, and she's going to tell you all about it. So.
Hi. So I wanted to let everybody know, as she said, we are partnering with the Hickory Daily Record, and we are doing, well, let me go back. We thought about how is the best way to get this word out about all of our projects. We're always talking about it in our snippets, our e-newsletter, in all the publications, social media that we do for the city, but how can we reach the most broad audience at one time? And the Hickory Daily Record is a great way to do that. So we have talked with the Hickory Daily Record, and they are partnering with us. And what we are doing is putting in an insert. Right now, it's roughly 24 pages. It could be larger based on advertising. And it's not all 24 pages of just bond projects. There's advertising in that. But we are going to have a nice ability to talk to, prior to the referendum, how we got to the referendum, what the referendum was, and moved us into the 4 bond projects, as well as it's not just about the bond projects, it's all about crafting Hickory. So it's about our private investments with the Lackey family, with private partnerships with the civic organizations like the Friends of Hickory and the Kiwanis Park, with the splash pad potentially there. So we're going to cover all of those areas. And what it's going to be is a glossy magazine, so it's not going to be a newspaper type of insert. It's actually going to be one of those magazines you can take with you. You can pass it on to other people to read. It's going to come out January 3rd, and we're kind of announcing it now. We have it in our snippets for next month to let people know. So that we're getting 28,000 copies of that in the paper, and 2,000 of those we are getting. So we can give them to you, you can pass out, we'll give them out in City Hall and different places. But there's an opportunity for you and your businesses to be a part of that insert. So if you would like to be contacted, I am not going to be one contacting you, it will be the Hickory Daily Record, to tell you about advertising opportunity in that insert. Great way for you to get your business, if you're associated with this project, of course, or the bond projects, in that insert. I'm sure it's a piece that's going to be around for a while. It's an annual recap, and it's something we may look at doing in the future as well. So we are going to have, we have a link. Can we send that back out to them? Okay, we'll send that back out to you. I do need to get that to them tomorrow. I think you may have already seen something about that, or some of you may have. So if you have the opportunity, if you want to just sign up tonight, I'll make sure there's a piece of paper. You can give me your name, contact information, or whoever you want to be contacted at your company. And then the Hickory Daily Record will be contacting you just to give you information. Doesn't mean you're guaranteed that you have to do an ad, but if you're interested in getting more information, we'll make sure you get it. I think that was everything on the bond insert piece. Yane wanted me to mention, she just passed this out to you. Next Thursday night, we have our community bond update and 2015 fall legislative reception. This is going to be at Moretz Mills. It's from 5:30 to 7:30. The 5:30 to 6:30 piece is actually going to be about our projects, an update to the community. We've been doing these updates, not just about bond projects, but citizens briefings. And they've gone really well. We've had good turnout, so we invite a lot of people, neighborhood college graduates, Citizen Police Academy graduates. This is open to the public. Invite anyone you'd like, or anyone that may have questions, tell them to come out. There's food available as well, which is nice. 6:30 to 7:30, we will have the legislators there and elected officials, so you can thank them for the session that they just ended. So please come out, please pass this around to people and let them know about it. Yanni, miss anything you want to add? Okay, thank you. And oh yes, we have to take a picture. The reason for the picture is because we wanted to do a picture of the bond commission as a whole. So those of you that are here tonight, we have an area set up outside. We'll take you over there, we'll do a quick picture. It's just going to be one picture we can add into the insert. I think it'd be nice to have all of your faces in there. So those of you that like to join me, you're welcome.
So 10 minutes maybe? Is it 15?
All right. Recess is over. We're going to talk about schedule next. So we can start putting this together and let the committees get to work.
All right, folks, we're almost done. Maybe it stopped raining. I doubt it, but maybe it has. Up on the screen is a schedule, and it starts with today, where we are. We met earlier today with staff to talk about the prioritization process, and obviously this is where we are today. So this starts November, December, January, kind of the finish line for this first phase of your work. And I want to touch on mainly the parts that you have to work on in November, December, and January. We talked earlier about you've got all these projects now, you've got all these budget estimates. We're going to have to go through a process of setting priorities and narrowing down what you want to do and with this first $35 million. So, starting November 9th, over the days of November 9 and 10, we're going to have a subcommittee meeting with each of the three subcommittees, the Streetscapes, the City Walk, and the Riverwalk subcommittees. During those meetings, they'll be about 2 hours long. I think the invitations have gone out for those. Outlook invitations have gone out for those to each of you. But that's where we'll go through a prioritization process. And what that's going to do is give us data. And Mike's going to talk more about the specifics of that in just a moment. But data to begin to draft some program options for your consideration. We're also going to do a similar thing with the City Council on November 18th. And then we'll come back on December 8th. There'll be another full bond commission meeting like tonight. And what we hope to do that evening is to bring to you several different program options based upon the data that you gave us during the prioritization process, for something for you to react to. That will have the priorities, and there'll be different concepts in there, but we'll show that to you on December 8th. You get your feedback on that. And then we'll make whatever adjustments based on your feedback that evening, and we'll show a draft to the City Council on December 15th. Then we'll get their feedback. And then we'll make whatever adjustments we need to after the December 15th council meeting, and we'll come back to a bond commission meeting, the full commission meeting again on the 13th of January, and show you what we see recommended, the final recommended program for this first phase for your consideration and hopeful adoption or tweaking that will then present it to the City Council on either January 19th and or February the 2nd. This is kind of the roadmap of where we are today to get us to the interim finish line of having a program. After that, we'll know what projects are first, second, third, so we can begin the process of hiring the designers for the first set of projects, then get them into construction, etc. And then it'll be a cycle of projects for the next 5 to 7 years as this $40 million gets spent on these improvements and on.
It does. Can you hear me? Yes. I'll say, and on the business part. So, any questions about the schedule?
It's coming to them in an email too.
Yes, coming to your email. All this stuff that we've shown you tonight, you're going to get it in a nice package. You're going to probably have to go to a website and download it because some of these files, graphic files, are large. And Mike will talk about this board and prioritization process so that you'll be somewhat familiar with the information when you come to those meetings in November, so it's not the first time you see it. You know what the projects are, you know what the budget estimates are, and you'll be able to go into that informed with maybe what you think the priorities might should be, or what the most important features of these projects. So, questions about the calendar or schedule? Great, thank you. Mike? Talk about it.
So as Charles was saying, the next subcommittee meeting, so for the next subcommittee meeting, we are going to give you some homework, and we're going to email that to you. And I wanted to introduce you to some of the prioritization tools. We want everybody to come in there understanding the process. There's 2 different tools that we're going to use during the subcommittee meetings. This one's called Pairwise, and I've got it populated with vegetables up here. The idea behind this, Pairwise, is nothing that we invented. It's a decision-making tool that's out there. It's great when you're trying to choose between alternatives or projects, really just about anything you want, vegetables in this case. Let me run you through how this works real quick. So whatever you're trying to decide between, you list it across the left, you list it across the top. Where you see the black diagonals, that's where it intersects itself. So this one, Brussels sprouts and Brussels sprouts, cancel out there. What we're going to do is we're going to ask you all a series of questions. For the streetscapes one, for instance, we may go through a matrix like this in the streetscapes, and we may ask you, which one do you think is more important, streetscape 1 or streetscape 2? And the way you're going to answer is we're going to give you polling clickers. And we'll have everybody go through and click and answer. The answer is going to be, if you think, let me run through this. For instance, in this case, I would ask you a question right here. What's more important to you, Brussels sprouts or green beans? If you think Brussels sprouts is more important, you're going to answer a 3. If you think these are equal, you give it a 2. If you think Brussels sprouts is less important than green beans, you give it a 1. So in this case, everybody gave it a 2. But by doing this with polling clickers, we can get everybody's answer at the same time. We can get the results up on the screen, and you can kind of see where everybody in the room. The polling clicker allows everybody to get equal voice, keep one person dominating the conversation. And I think it really gives us some insight on the data you're all just talking about. And you just switch this to a 1. So what she's done here is that everybody had answered Brussels sprouts is less important, we like it less than green beans, gave it a 1. It automatically does the opposite here. We had green beans intersect Brussels sprouts. So what we're going to do is we're going to ask you a question for every grid that's on this side of that black line. This side over here auto-populates as the inverse of that. What you can do here with the sum on this side, all right, can't use a pointer or a microphone. What you do here is the highest score that anything can have. So this example, cucumbers, it got 3s all the way across. So everybody in the room answered cucumbers are better than every other one that's up there. It got the highest score, sum of the 12, and this is the rank right here. So that would be one of the tools we use. We're also going to go back and ask questions of if you were to take elements out of the streetscape, which ones would you want to take out? Those, the lighting mast arms, lighting in general, the medians, would you want to downgrade the landscaping? We'll start getting a feel for that. Does everybody kind of understand that process? So,
and that's going to be done at the subcommittee level?
Yes, this will be done at the subcommittee. That way we have groups of 14. We're getting their input on it. What will be important is I've run through this with groups before. It works great. The polling clickers, the pairwise, I think everybody gets it, likes it. We'll do some test questions, make sure you all understand before we get going. But when we do send out the streetscape PDFs, those little sheets, please look at those, look at the cost. Just be familiar with it, because when I ask you what's more important, streetscape 1 or streetscape 2, I want you to have that information there available and have already reviewed it. You may even want to go through and answer. We'll send out instructions as well. If you want to fill it out ahead of time and go through and answer that way, you're welcome to do that. Any questions about the process? Andrea has a question.
So we have some people who can't make a meeting. I mean, it was just hard to get everyone to every meeting. Is there a way for them to fill out and send ahead?
They could. You could fill out and send ahead, and if there's, we could actually have some extra clickers, with their results, and we could click it for them.
Will this also be the process when the full bond committee is together?
I imagine we have thought to that next one yet. I want to see what the data looks like. That's part of it, is we don't know what the data we're going to get back from the subcommittee meetings are. But we do plan on taking that data, and unfortunately at the end of the subcommittee meeting, we're not going to have this process, and on the screen is going to pop up, here's the bond program. So we're going to have to analyze the data, what did we hear them say, but at the same time we're going to have to, say for City Walk for instance, if everybody ranked the different segments of City Walk, and they liked, at the very bottom of that list, they put the segment right in the middle. We can't leave that segment out. It has to be, continuous. So we'll have to use some logic to go back and interpret everybody's answers. Yes?
Are the members of each subcommittee going to vote on all four of the projects? Just their project?
We're going to just do that there. So the Riverwalk Committee will go through the Riverwalk alternatives and get their feedback. Streetscapes and Gateways will go through that. Then what we're going to do is when we take that data, we'll put together 2 or 3 different options that are within the $40 million budget. From that, we're going to bring that back to the full bond commission. And then we'll ask this full bond commission to then give us feedback on that. Which of those 2 or 3 that we bring back do you like the best? What don't you like about it? We'll take that feedback, hopefully create one final bond program, and then bring it back to the bond commission and to council one more time at that point. Any other questions?
I'll ask the question I asked before, but just for the benefit of the group. So how, is there a prioritization process among the projects, not just within the project?
Well, that'll be so the bond commission as a whole will get to see we'll take the data from each of the subcommittees, we're gonna analyze it, take a stab at, okay, here's one way to take that data and create a bond program that's within the budget. We may create option A, option B, option C, all within your budget. We'll ask the bond commission as a whole then for their input. So that's where the bond commission as a whole gets to weigh in on all of the projects. We don't like the fact that City Walk's missing these components. And if you're on the Streetscape Committee, you weren't part of that prioritization process. As a bond commission member, you can still comment on the overall program and how it fits together.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm still not understanding how your group is going to decide among the 3 programs how to allocate. One way to do it is say, I'm not saying this is right, but you could say City Walk gets all of it, because we want to do all of that, and you're committing with the other 2. I don't know what kind of guidance either City Council has given the bond commission on that, or anything about how you're prioritizing among the 3.
We discussed that today. If we come into the subcommittee meetings and give some sort of ranges of, here's a range we'd like. I think where we're at though is we'd rather get the data from the subcommittees first, see what the feedback is, and then come to that bond commission meeting and say, here's how we've done it, here's where we'd like the funds allocated as far as ranges for each of the different projects. But we're not going to come to the subcommittee meeting with that unless we change our mind.
Should we
Yes, Charlie.
know the result of the Tiger grant before we make the decisions of privatization?
I think we will. What's your latest intel?
Should we not wait until we know the outcome of the Tiger grant before trying to make?
The way we're trying to approach this is we're trying to approach this to where we're putting a bond program for the $40 million. And obviously that creates a priority list of projects. And there's going to be things that we'll understand what the next priority of projects are. As grants come in, we can start moving things from that next list back into the bond program. It is a significant change if you get the Tiger grant. But I think we're trying to march forward as quick as we can with this. Yes?
Is there value of not having every subgroup vote on each of the different projects? I know about City Walk, that yes, I'm on that subcommittee, but I think there's an interest in being part of these meetings to have some exposure to say, we have some input to those other ones in the polling process versus we're just voting on what we are subcommittee.
So let me rephrase the question, make sure I understand it. You would like to be part of the polling process in other subcommittees that you're not on? Is that, in essence, the question? I believe tell me if you don't think you get this, but I believe we asked the subcommittees who have been part of the process the whole time to do the initial polling, give us data of their preferences. We're taking that feedback. We're crafting a few options of way the bond program could come together based on the feedback from those. And then this group will do some sort of polling exercise to get your feedback on the options. So you wouldn't necessarily be part of the first polling part of it, but you would give feedback at the next one, and then also we're coming back to the final. So there'll be 2 more opportunities after that to give feedback on it. Does that feel inclusive enough, or?
I'm just asking, because it just seems like it takes the process a lot longer to have those two additional.
Actually,
Polling, in my opinion.
I think what our thought process was on that was that going through an exercise like this actually takes quite a bit of time. And to go through this exercise with each of the subcommittees is going to be a very intensive process in itself. To have to sit through that process as a bond commission member for each of the subcommittees would pretty much have to be like a half-day workshop. I mean, it would be a pretty long process.
Well, it'd be a 6-hour process, because each of the subcommittees, we're gonna have 2 hours worth of questions and polling that we're trying to get.
If we crammed it really hard, maybe we could get it done in half a day plus lunch, I don't know, but, you know, it would be a really long process. And I think when we bring it back, after all the subcommittees have done their work, and we bring back our draft options and plans and stuff, we have polling questions, and we kind of ask the bond commission your thoughts on our draft options. I think you're also going to have an opportunity for not just input as to do you want this option or not, but I think you'll also have an opportunity for input on things within your plan too. If you think that just one of the other subcommittees got it totally wrong, so everything about our options are just off, I think you'll have an opportunity to kind of come from as well.
No, I appreciate the discussion.
Yeah.
Any others? All right, Andrea, I think it's back to you.
All right, so just a few reminders, the email will come out. I know you get a lot of emails from me, I'm sorry, it's just the way life is. So keep opening those emails, they've got important things in them. You've done a great job responding to Doodle Poll, so thank you for that, it does help. You can go in yourself and I think and check and see who's attending. We've got good attendance, really good, strong attendance. Thank you for your time tonight too. So there'll be an email coming out. We'll talk more about the media insert and ways that you guys can maybe give us quotes or provide maybe some partnership dollars that your company might be interested to do in that. I'll get the location for the December 8th meeting firmed up. We're shopping that around, and so it'll try to be a 5 o'clock meeting again, something close to this dinner hour. Let's see, and then of course the community event next Thursday night. If you have a chance to come out, great. If you don't, that work is still getting done, and so don't feel overburdened. But you know, you have a great story to tell. If you want to be a part of that, we'd love to have you. Bert and Allison will be a part of that in speaking, and so you'll have good representation. But we'd love to see you, but just do what you can. And then got a great participation on the subcommittee meeting. So with that, I think that's it for me.
So just want to reiterate what Andre said about the media insert. Mike Bell with Corning and my company Comscope have already agreed to help offset some of the costs. I encourage anybody else who wants to do that to join in. And there's going to be a lot of subcommittee work to be done here, so y'all please focus on it where it gets real important. And then we'll come back together and review it where we end up. Any questions from anybody? If not, I appreciate everybody's time and attention, and proceed on. Thank you.